Uchiha's Rebellion, The Rise of Ruohuo. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 91. The Uchiha clan only accepts surrender, not negotiation. Is it Shadow Clone again? Inoki, who was floating in the air, frowned. This is already the third flying fire dragon. That Jinchuriki kid's fire style is very powerful, and all the ones coming are Shadow Clone, which is obviously delaying time. So is this Uchiha brat a Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, or? Inoki is not very good at judging now. Konoha's Nine-Tails Jinchuriki has always been mysterious, and Iwagakure's information about Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is still 40 years ago. It is a woman named Uzumaki Mido. She is the wife of the first Hokage. She is powerful, but her lifespan has come to an end. The identity of the new Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is currently a mystery. Yunin, who had temporarily reached a cooperation intention, shared some information. It was said that Konoha's Nine-Tails Jinchuriki was a red-haired woman, and Kumogakure almost kidnapped her, but unfortunately failed. Inoki, who had always been suspicious of this information, didn't quite believe it. Third Reikage is not just a guy with muscles. The third Hokage is an extremely hypocritical and cunning old guy. Konoha has never put Nine-Tails Jinchuriki on the battlefield, and its protection of Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is airtight. How did you, Kumogakure, decide that it was not an intelligence trap? You almost kidnapped someone? How ridiculous. Unless he saw Nine-Tails Jinchuriki transform into a tailed beast with his own eyes, Inoki would not be able to believe this kind of information. The Iwagakure spy in Konoha previously reported back information that Uchiha and Konoha have a huge potential conflict. Hasn't this Uchiha brat become a Jinchuriki? Ode. The fire dragon gets closer and closer. The tailed beast chakra code on this kid's clone is so obvious, but this time it's not the same person. It seems to be holding. Lao Zi really defeated? Inoki narrowed his eyes, his murderous intention getting stronger. He personally selected the two Jinchuriki candidates, and they are trustworthy ninjas. Han has died in battle. Lao Zi was also held in this kid's hand. But the more this happened, Inoki became a little afraid to mobilize chakra to activate dust style. Things may be turning around. Lao Zi may be still saved. Ruohuo slowed down slightly and observed the position of Iwagakure's troops. The horizontal distance is not too far, and Inoki is directly above the Iwagakure troops. But the vertical distance was not close. Inoki was obviously trying to prevent the air combat from affecting the Iwagakure ninjas, so he flew at a high altitude, at least 300 meters. This makes it very difficult for the sensing ninja to provide information. 2 Shadow Clone and 2 interceptions are more than just delaying time. It's all tactics. The fire dragon stopped 10 meters in front of Inoki and circled into the emblem of the Uchiha clan. Ruohuo held the collar of Four Tails Jinchuriki with one hand and stared at Inoki expressionlessly. Are you here to negotiate this time, Uchiha brat? Inoki said solemnly. Negotiation? Ruohuo raised his head with a look of disdain. You are thinking too much, little old man. Can't you see such a big clan emblem? We, the Uchiha clan, have always only accepted surrender, not negotiation. Inoki felt a burst of anger surge in his heart, this arrogant Uchiha brat. But Inoki quickly frowned again and suppressed his anger. As it's such a kid, he would not be so angry that a kid would make him faint. Are you trying to delay time? Kid. Inoki crossed his arms across his chest and said calmly and indifferently, it's useless. Before I got here, I had already defeated all the ninjas on your front line. Look at these Iwagakure ninjas below you and count how many there are in total. Kid. Iwagakure is so powerful that you can't imagine. Before dawn, these ninjas will rush into the territory of the Land of Fire and kill Konoha in the shortest possible time. From now on, Konoha will hang the flag of Iwagakure. Ruohuo was silently counting the time while listening to Inoki threatening the children. Last time, it took nearly 10 minutes for 5 Tails, which was almost at full strength, to break through the seal. This time 4 Tails had been beaten violently and might be in a weak state, but Kushina lifted the seal. Let's just call it 8 minutes. Ruohuo is here to delay time. When the tailed beast knight is ready, it will be useless no matter how many Iwagakure ninjas come. As for Inoki. Are you done? Ruohuo mentioned Four Tails Jinchuriki and threw it down. Inoki's heart skipped a beat and he almost couldn't help but pick it up. But soon, Inoki discovered that Lao Zi's hands had been tied up with an iron chain. This damn kid was holding the other end of the chain and hanging Lao Zi in the air. hanging in front of the fire dragon coiled into the emblem of the Uchiha clan. Well. Shadow clone number 4 groaned just right, but still did not open its eyes, vividly interpreting the image of a person who was ravaged in a coma. If Ruohuo raised his 2 fingers, the fire dragon immediately opened its bloody mouth, and the rich chakra gathered in the mouth. If you don't want this guy and the 4 tails in his body to be roasted by me, let the guys below retreat immediately. And you are not allowed to turn around and walk backwards. Keep an eye on this guy and move back. Immediately. Dong 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 dong. Inoki's heartbeat began to accelerate. Lao Zi is not dead yet. That fire dragon is a fire-style ninjutsu. It has a certain temperature itself. It is so hot that it is obviously impossible for it to be disguised as a clone. So. Before the kid spoke again, Inoki made a decisive decision and suddenly shouted, "That's ridiculous." Buzz, white light condensed in Inoki's hand, and dust style quickly took shape. Kid. The heart of an Iwagakure ninja is as tall and hard as the Rocky Mountains of Iwagakure. This is a battlefield. Everyone is ready to sacrifice. I'm not playing house with you, kid. Dust style the art of peeling off the original world. Don't dare to take this move forcefully. Wakaba didn't dare to be careless at all. He had seen the scene where Inoki cut Uchiha Madara's wood style in one breath. The forward swing of dust style takes a certain amount of time, but once it takes shape, it is unrivaled in terms of power and controllability. But it's not a big problem. He has already left enough room to sprint. Wakahuo immediately threw Shadow Clone 4 towards Inoki, and at the same time controlled the fire dragon and dived directly towards the Iwagakure ninjas. Wakahu's 3 Magatama firmly locked onto Inoki. If Inoki can really be ruthless and cut with the Iwagakure ninja, then he can only start Plan B. According to the system, when he completes the task, he can get a pair of Mangekyo Izanagi, a life-saving skill, but will lose one eye. Ruohuo has long wanted to try it. It can be refreshed anyway, so it's useless if you don't use it. But obviously, it is impossible for the shadow of any village to do this. What's more, he inherited the son of the first Tsuchikage and the disciple of the second Tsuchikage. The Nindo is protect Iwagakure at all costs. Who is the brat? Inoki's eyes flashed with satisfaction. Even the Byakugan, which can see through rocks, cannot see into the heart of the Iwagakure ninja. You're too immature, kid. Inoki taunted, then grabbed Lao Zi. But suddenly. You should have surrendered earlier, little old man. Old Z, who was unconscious, suddenly opened his eyes, grinned widely, and formed seals with his hands. Fire-style fire prison technique. Episode 92. Are you going to try to nip this Uchiha genius in the cradle? Dust style the art of peeling off the original world. At the moment when the fire prison was formed, Inoki finally used the dust style. Dust style instantly disintegrates everything in front of him into powder, including Shadow Clone number 4. What the hell is Tsuchikage? Have you got any left? Ruohuo grumbled and temporarily cancelled Plan B. Whether it was the suspicious Inoki who held back a hand or whether he reacted quickly. Although Shadow Clone 4 has been crushed into powder, Plan A is obviously a success. At least, it bought him enough time. Fire style. If Ruohuo formed a seal with his hands again, it was still the In seal. The art of stripping away the original world. Then with a sharp breath, chakra reacted quickly in the body, puffed up its mouth, leaving only a small opening, and finally, sprayed out a straight laser ray from the mouth. Nanny. Inoki didn't have time to be surprised. His survival instinct and physical potential were activated at the same time. He chose to evade the Wakahui ninjutsu the moment it took shape, but he still couldn't escape Wakahui's laser beam. A piece of flesh was cut off from the calf, and the wound was directly burned. It turns out to be this form. Ruohuo raised his eyebrows. Without the decomposition effect, the range was also compressed, and finally turned into an ultra-high temperature laser. The fire-style version of dust style is very different from the original dust style, both in terms of activation method and ninjutsu formation steps. In fact, after learning lava style, Ruohuo considered this situation. According to the boil style fused with Little Vulcan, it should be possible to acquire some attributes by learning lava style ninjutsu. For example, adding magma properties to flames? But no. The lava style version of fire style only turns fire style into liquid fire. The form has indeed changed, but Ruohuo discovered it himself. The system does not prompt. This is a normal phenomenon and does not require integration. The boil style provided by Five Tails chakra actually provides attributes rather than escape techniques, so it requires additional fusion. The boil style used by Han before was strictly speaking a ninjutsu that provided a boost to the body, so it did not trigger the learning effect of Little Vulcan. For the real boil style ninjutsu, you still have to find Terumi Mei. But dust style is different. Because of the attributes of Little Fire God, dust style's form will be replaced by fierce flames, but it is obvious that Li Yang's form has also undergone earth-shaking changes. The effect of dust style is decomposition, which is a blood elimination with an almost overflowing upper limit. It is extremely powerful and has a huge range. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the most lethal. After changing to fire style, the decomposition effect is obviously gone. But the damage of the flames was increased to the extreme, turning it into an ultra-high temperature laser ray. You little devil. Inoki's expression was extremely ferocious due to the severe pain, and he gritted his teeth, and these words came out from between his teeth. You are the one who chose to be Uchiha's enemy, little old man. Ruohuo tilted his head. Why, after being at Uchiha for so many years, do you think you can do it again? Looking at the large wild trees in the sky, Ruohuo became calm. Let's talk about it, first. The second time I set foot on the battlefield, I had to face an opponent like third Uchiha. Ruohuo was still a little nervous. Before setting off, I was even prepared to activate Izanagi. Anyway, it can be refreshed, so if you don't use it, it will be in vain. That being said, he can only use it once at most. You can't let yourself go blind, right? The previous 2 shadow clone shots were just to test Inoki's attitude. Inoki always uses dust style whenever he meets, so he has to make an exception for Uchiha. With so many prisoners in hand and a 4 Tails Jinchuriki Z, it's not impossible to negotiate. But Ruohuo didn't expect that the battle plan would be so successful. Although Shadow Clone didn't completely succeed in sneak attack, the effect was pretty good. Even if Inoki was not hit by his high-temperature laser, the fire prison technique at that moment did indeed envelope Inoki. At least it gave him the opportunity to activate the high-temperature laser. Now, the initiative is completely in his hands. Don't show such an expression, little old man. I still like your unruly look at the beginning. Ruohuo raised his head and spread his hands arrogantly. What, do you want to try to strangle this Uchiha genius in the cradle? Once a genius like me grows up, it will definitely be a tricky thing for a Wagakure, right? Come on, try it. Use dust style on me. I promise not to hide. But the hard hearts of you Wagakure ninjas shouldn't be able to withstand your dust style, right? It was impossible not to hide, but Ruohuo was sure to kill Inoki before he made a move. Dust style is indeed a knockout with overflowing power. In the ninja world, there are many ways to kill people. A senbon, a kunai, even a great fireball has the ability to kill enemies. And dust style is the most lethal ninjutsu. The lethality is extremely high, and if the caster has enough chakra, the upper limit of the power can be increased again. You know, Inoki, who had chakra provided by Tsunade, killed 25 Susannas in one breath. That is to say, Naruto doesn't know dust style, otherwise Naruto in Fox mode would be enough to level the ninja world with just one sage art dust style. But dust style also has weaknesses. As a certain unborn white-eyed wolf Jinchuriki said, every ninjutsu has weaknesses. Putting aside the difficulty of learning dust style and the non-replicability of Sharingan, the forward swing of dust style is long enough. But none of this exists for Ruohuo. Fire style original stripping technique may not have the ability to decompose. But the extremely high temperature laser rays and the quick activation provided by the little Vulcan buff are enough to make up for it. At least, facing Inoki in front of him, at this distance, he would definitely be able to headshot Inoki before he activated the genuine dust style. Inoki gritted his teeth, enduring the severe pain while making a decision in his mind. As this Uchiha brat says, letting such a genius grow up will definitely be a disaster for a Wagakure. But this kid is obviously not looking for death. Are you still hesitating? Little old man? If you hesitate for too long, the price of surrender will become higher. Wakahuo pointed in the direction of a Wagakure. My shadow clone has been setting off for a long time. His purpose is to take advantage of the emptiness inside your village and destroy a Wagakure village like the god of Mubi Bridge. Wakahara showed a harmless smile. Little old man, do you want a Wagakure to be the first village destroyed by Uchiha? Episode 93. The Senju clan's qualification to surrender was obtained by the Senju clan leader's life guarantee. I don't know if it was an hallucination caused by the severe pain. Anoki's eyes were actually in a daze at this moment, and some memories that had been sealed for a long time appeared in front of him again. That was more than 40 years ago. The head of the Senju clan shook hands with Uchiha and made peace. Those two terrifying super ninja clans established the Konoha ninja village system. Ninja clans from all major countries followed suit one after another, and the 5 major ninja villages were established. The first Hokage is a powerful ninja who is powerful yet tolerant. My father said before he was alive that that person's mind was even broader than the land of Iwagakure. Following the gaze of the ninja god, you may be able to see a peaceful future. As a young man, he came to Konoha with passion and the friendship of Iwagakure, hoping to sign an alliance with the god of ninja to protect each other and maintain peace. Until they meet another man. That man came from the Uchiha clan and was a powerful ninja as famous as the god of ninja. Everyone called him Shura of the ninja world. He showed unparalleled power and defeated all the Iwagakure ninjas who went to Konoha by crushing him. He refused to enter into an alliance with Iwagakure for an extremely arrogant but extremely reasonable reason. Why should the superior gods care about the feelings of ants? Anoki will never forget the look in that man's eyes that night. Scarlet eyes, disdainful attitude, as if he doesn't care about everything. Kid. Anoki gritted his teeth and overcame the physical pain, but the psychological shadow could not be contained. The look in this kid's eyes. Very much like Shura from the ninja world that night. Don't just look at me, little old man, take a look at the Iwagakure ninjas below. You are the third Suchikage they respect most. Ruohuo spread his hands and said, but before your dust style affects them, can you at least take a look at them? It's a pity that you are flying too high. Even if they want to say goodbye to you, you probably won't be able to hear them. Ruohuo's eyes are locked on Anoki. As long as Anoki shows signs of launching dust style, he will not hesitate to activate laser rays and collect Anoki's body. Then, run away decisively. Of course, it would be best if Anoki could figure it out himself. He also wanted to negotiate amicably with Anoki. Will the angry Iwagakure attack Konoha at all costs after the death of their Tsuchikage? Not really. After the death of Third Raikage, Kumogakure's tough men all knew to start defending and stabilize the situation to prevent other ninja villages from raiding. Once the shadow of a village is killed, the rhythm of the war will be interrupted. If the Great Ninja War continues to consume Konoha, it is best to keep the forces of all parties within a balanced boundary. Then let Konoha break this boundary, thereby accelerating the ninja war into its true form, siege Konoha. So if possible, Ruohuo still wants to reach an agreement with Iwagakure. An agreement was reached to try to attack Konoha. What exactly do you want from me? Anoki strives to maintain his dignity as its Tsuchikage. Even though the person standing in front of him is just a kid, this kid is definitely Iwagakure's toughest enemy right now. Don't say anything to ask Iwagakure to surrender. I tell you, this is impossible. Even if I agree, it's impossible for the Iwagakure men to agree. Anoki is very tough. Then why don't you surrender on your own? Ruohuo said indifferently, I didn't ask Iwagakure to surrender. 2,000 ninjas surrounded me, and I drove them into a cage and locked them up. Why should I ask such a waste to surrender? Little old man, you have to understand one thing, not everyone is qualified to surrender to the Uchiha clan. Wakahuo spread his hands and said, don't you know how Konoha was established? The Senju clan leader used his own life as a guarantee, and then the surrender approval of the Uchiha clan leader was passed. Ruohuo paused, and he remembered that Daju beat Madara violently, and then pledged his own life to make Madara let go of her hatred. Well, it doesn't matter, history is written by the victors. But looking back, you can use this to mock Uchiha Madara. You, a guy who can't even hit a big pillar, led the Uchiha clan to surrender to Senju? No wonder no one recognizes you as the clan leader. I also chose to give you this opportunity because you taught me dust style. Ruohuo continued, we, the Uchiha clan, are very grateful. You taught me dust style. I will give you a chance to surrender and we will settle the matter. Anoki was shocked and couldn't even feel the pain in his body at this moment. When did I? Was it that technique just now? The jutsu Wakahui just used flashed in Anoki's eyes. The speed is extremely fast, the temperature is extremely high, and the key activation speed is very fast, but it is obviously a fire style. No. Anoki's eyes widened. This kid is hinting at himself. He can use that technique again before he activates dust style. Ruohuo also saw the change in Anoki's eyes and gave him a do you want to try it look. The Awagakure ninjas below have begun to disperse. Because of Wakaru's positioning problem and his sufficient height, the Awagakure were unable to attack him, but Inoki's dust style against him would spread to the bottom. The Awagakure ninjas are not fools either. Although they don't have the ability to attack the air, they can at least not hold back their own Suchikage. The Awagakure troops at the front were accelerating, and the ninjas at the rear were also spreading out, trying to gain space for Inoki to activate dust style. Ruohuo had already noticed this situation, and he estimated that Inoki was also waiting. Perhaps Inoki has received his hint just now, but this Suchikage may not necessarily give in. It is also possible to kill the evil Uchiha even though he is seriously injured. But it doesn't matter, he is waiting. 5 minutes have passed, Kushina's side should be. Roar. Thinking like this, an extremely angry roar suddenly exploded. Ugh. The smile on Ruohuo's face became even wider. It seems that Four Tails has been completely unblocked, little old man. The Four Tails Jinchuriki who almost had you cremated on the spot just now seems to be very important to you? If you surrender to me now, I can consider leaving his body to you. That's right. Ruohuo rubbed his hands, counting the time. My shadow clone is almost at Awagakure village. If you don't see the signal being sent to him. Inoki couldn't bear it anymore. If I kill you now, your shadow clone will also disappear. Ruohuo couldn't bear it anymore and formed seals violently. No oil or salt could enter, right? What the hell did I do to you? Inoki was startled, and while retreating, he quickly formed seals. Dust style, call out, if the light of fire is faster than dust style. This time it penetrated Inoki's shoulder directly. It's not that it's crooked, Inoki's arm is definitely unsalvageable. I can't save my arm, and I can't seal the seal. Ruohuo charged directly, grabbed Inoki's neck with one hand, and flew straight into the air. Immediately. Surrender to me. Otherwise, I will let Four Tails ride Five Tails and run to the gate of your village to release the tailed beast Jade. Episode 94. If you are not willing to surrender, I can only compensate you in other ways. Third generation Suchikage-sama. At the moment when Ruohuo's attack was successful, the hearts of all the Awagakure ninjas were raised. Especially Huangtu, Awagakure's frontline commander against Konoha. As Inoki's son, Huangtu is one of the strongest men in Awagakure, but he knows his father's situation better. Even without the back injury that would occur from time to time, my father's physical close-up skills had been wasted for a long time due to the Suchikage thing. Once he was close, the situation would become extremely dangerous. What's more, Dad was injured before he was attacked. That is to say, Huangtu still doesn't know that Ruohuo has mastered the dust style, otherwise he would definitely not be able to force himself to calm down like he is now. Don't be nervous. Speed up. Protect the sealing squad. Our mission is to recover Four Tails and Five Tails. Trust Suchikage-sama. Huangtu's tough orders temporarily stabilized the morale of the troops. But very quickly. Roar. 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 There were 3 roars in succession, almost exploding at the same time. Immediately afterwards, the Awagakure ninjas saw a scene that they had been prepared for, but it was indeed the scene they least wanted to see. Only the distance is visible. The huge bodies of Four Tails and Five Tails were rushing towards them at full speed. There is nothing worse than seeing your tailed beast charging towards you on the battlefield. Awagakure is not without examples of tailed beast riots. But this is the first time that 2 tailed beasts rioted at the same time. Perhaps the only good news is that it is still far from the village. Defensive formation. Prepare for impact. The sealing team retreats temporarily. Be careful of being affected by the tailed beast Jade. Seal Five Tails with all your strength first. Prepare Earth style. Huangtu calmly commanded the Awagakure ninja without any panic. Although Awagakure suffered heavy losses in these 2 days, the uncounted casualties alone may have reached more than 3,000. But as long as both tailed beasts can be recovered, the loss this time can be made up for. Huangtu glanced at the sky again. The distance is too far, and you can only see the light of fire getting further and further away. Huangtu became increasingly worried, but at this moment there was nothing he could do. We can only try our best to seal the 2 tailed beasts. Awagakure's men are invincible. Earth style. Won the earth flow wall. Boom. Five Tails was the first to attack Awagakure's army, but was blocked by a thick and hard earth wall. As the shinobi village who is best at earth style, Awagakure has its own advantages in defense. Especially for dealing with tailed beast riots, they have a complete system. At least no Kage has to sacrifice himself to seal the tailed beast. Sealing class prepares. Huang Tu immediately ordered to try to seal 5 tails in the shortest possible time. But he soon gave up on the idea. Get ready for the tailed beast Tama. It is indeed a tailed beast jade, but it does not come from 4 tails, but the 4 tails Kushina on the head of 4 tails. Below Kushina, on the hoop-shaped horns of 4 tails Son Goku, there is a man bound by chakra chains. Kushina, you could consider putting me down first, really. I will no longer interfere with Lord Ruohuo's will. As his teacher, I should be able to help. Kushina. Kushina? Roar. 4 tails let out a deafening roar, and Kushina also activated the tailed beast Tama. Lord Orochimaru, I'm not tying you to Kokuo's horns, so I'm being very tolerant. Boom. The tailed beast Tama smashed into the defense line of the Iwagakure ninja, but Kushina, who was covered in 9 tails chakra, frowned. I sensed a lot of sealing technique style chakra fluctuations. Goku, go to Kokuo quickly. She is worthy of being the mother of the child of prophecy. Following Kabuto's diplomacy and temporarily reaching a less than companion relationship with 9 tails, he helped 4 tails lift the seal and had 5 tails as a guarantor. 4 tails also had a certain affection for this human being. Roar. 4 tails slapped his chest, rushed in the direction of Kokuo, and punched him directly, helping 5 tails break through the first Earth-style defense line of the Iwagakure ninja. Oops. The less secret path is not good. In the past tailed beast riots, whether it was 4 tails or 5 tails, they only knew how to vent their power randomly. Faced with 2 tailed beasts at the same time this time, Huang Tu discovered that the tailed beasts can cooperate with each other. No. It's a 3-headed tailed beast, and 4 tails has a Jinchuriki on its head. Sealing class prepares. Defense squad. Trap them. The fight was in full swing below. Ruohuo's side is much easier. He dragged Anamu with one hand and flew for several kilometers. Anamu did not resist the whole time. Only then did Ruohuo realize that the little old man was unconscious. Half of it was painful, and half of it was roasted. What should I do? Ruohuo was also a little hesitant. The original plan was to persuade Anoki to surrender voluntarily, but that didn't seem to work. The stubbornness of this little old man was beyond his imagination. If he hadn't taken action in advance, I felt that Anoki would have chosen to die with him even if he risked his life. Ruohuo really didn't doubt this. If he couldn't get a laser headshot, even if it hit Anoki's heart, the little old man might activate Dust Style before he died and forcibly disintegrate him. Well. Although it's a pity that I didn't get to experience Izanagi, you taught me Dust Style after all. If you are not willing to surrender, I will compensate you in other ways. Ruohuo thought about it. It was decided to send Anoki safely back to Iwagakure. Forget it if you don't surrender. It seems rare to anyone. Yo. During the flight, Ruohuo suddenly saw Shadow Clone 6 in front of him. It was number 3 now. One less 6-path Shadow Clone was left before leaving the border. Now he has 3 Shadow Clone outside. The progress of Shadow Clone 3 was relatively slow, because in the first half of the journey, in order to avoid Anoki's sight, he had been flying at a low altitude. After flying for a while, it started to take off. Hello. If the fire catches up with the Shadow Clone, the 2 fire dragons meet in the sky. What's going on? Shadow Clone glanced at Anoki in the main body's hand, and then at Ruohuo's 2 eyes that were still alive. He breathed a sigh of relief, and his expression became weird again. Did you win the battle? The mutated Dust Style is stronger than Dust Style? There was no counterattack. Number 4 cooperated with me to successfully attack in a sneak attack, but the output method is different from Dust Style. There is no decomposition, only ultra-high temperature burning. The current form is a laser. Ruohuo thought for a moment and told Shadow Clone 3, I still have to go back. You send Anoki back to Iwagakure village and use them to test their power. By the way, it's best to use a laser to carve a carving on their mountain. This time, instead of Uchiha, just carve a Konoha, let's make a hatred. Shadow Clone number 3 frowned. What if I just use a kunai to tattoo Anoki's body? He is over 50 years old. Ruohuo felt a little moral restraint. Let's get a tattoo on his face. I will try to make this little old man look in the mirror and prepare to fight Konoha to the death. Episode 95. Wukong. Take him as his master. After handing Anoki to Shadow Clone 3, Ruohuo immediately turned around and rushed to the front line. What Konoha Ninja Shadow Clone 3 will do to Anoki and Awagakure is not clear yet, but Awagakure probably won't forgive Konoha easily in the future. What can be expected is that the third ninja war should speed up some progress. Heroes are made in troubled times. Uchiha took the opportunity to rise up, withstood the baptism of a war, and was reborn from the ashes. He did not seek to return to his peak period, but at least had a certain degree of deterrence. Although we have experienced war, casualties are inevitable. But there is nothing that can be done about it. Ruohuo believes that 100 tribesmen who failed to open their eyes will definitely be inferior to 10 tribesmen with single Magatama in terms of strength assessment. Uchiha's current strength will be embarrassing. It is true that he is an elite stream, but the elite stream is not very skilled either. Including him, he couldn't even get a pair of Mangekyo, which was indeed a bit embarrassing. We must join Umbu as soon as possible. If Huo secretly made up his mind to grow, Mangekyo must get it quickly. He had a vague hunch that based on his current behavior, the third generation was afraid that he would not want him to go to Umbu. If it doesn't work, then you can only join the route. Fortunately, Elder Danzo gave him a thumbs up before he died. Otherwise, he really has no excuse. Speaking of which, is the current Uchiha Madara included in the system? Ruohuo has always been very curious about this issue. Ordinarily, everyone is an Uchiha, and Uchiha Madara was once the head of the Uchiha clan. But when this guy left Konoha, he fired all the Uchiha. This is difficult to assess. What worries Ruohuo most is that if the current A-level strength evaluation of the Uchiha clan really includes Uchiha Madara, and it accounts for a large proportion. This is very possible, and what's even worse is that although the old Madara does not have the Samsara Eye, in terms of strength evaluation, she might still have an S. Who can say for sure? After all, it is the existence of San Magatama Kasuzu. If the Uchiha clan's A-level evaluation really relies on Uchiha Madara's S and drags others down, that would be embarrassing. System, can you understand my concerns? Ruohuo called silently. Although the system is basically an interface, there has been no interaction before. It is said that completing the S-level mission can activate the family vassal function, but he hasn't even touched the side of S yet. After completing the A-level mission, you can unlock the family strength assessment module. The prompt that appears in front of you is the system's response. Then you have to work harder. Punch into the inside of the Konoha and join the route/Umbu. Ruohuo narrowed his eyes and said, "It seems that third generation has lost its way." Boom. Kushina fired another tailed beast jade, which shattered layers of earth walls and knocked away many Awagakure ninjas, including a sealing squad that was trying to get close to Kokuo undercover. But the situation is still not optimistic. Thousands of Awagakure activate Earth style at the same time. Even if the tailed beast has super destructive power, it will be repaired by the Awagakure ninjas in the shortest possible time. These guys have a mature set of tailed beast fighting tactics. This tactic is not complicated. It is nothing more than using Earth style to surround the tailed beast, compress the space, consume the power of the tailed beast, and continue to attack. Then the sealing team approaches and uses a large number of sealing techniques to seal the tailed beast. As the last princess of the kingdom of Whirlpool, Kushina despises these sealing techniques. But there are too many Awagakure ninjas, and their Earth style is also very powerful. There is no place on the ground to stay, either a swamp or a soil thorn. This is very uncomfortable for 4 tails and 5 tails. And the relationship between 4 tails and 5 tails doesn't seem to be very good. Kushina wanted them to follow Ruohuo's plan from the beginning, 4 tails riding 5 tails, which would definitely be very powerful. But 5 tails was unwilling to do so, and 4 tails also clearly expressed their refusal. Kushina knew that she might have to take a little risk. Kurama, I know you have been very unhappy these years. When Grandma sealed you into my body, I could feel your anger. In the sealed space, Kushina stood in front of the cage and said suddenly. Humph. 9 tails snorted coldly, not wanting to pay attention to this woman. I once had the same anger. My home was destroyed, and I escaped under the desperate escort of my tribe. They handed me over to Konoha. Since then, I have never left Konoha. Konoha is actually a big cage for me and Grandma. Kushina's tone is a little low, but very sincere. Chakra and Kushina are linked together in 9 tails, and I feel it clearly. Humph. 9 tails snorted again, but in a lower voice. Kushina continued, I don't have many friends. They always like to laugh at me. After being beaten up by me, they start to be afraid of me. Nine Tails was silent. Kushina did not lie, it was clear. But later, I conquered a younger brother. Kushina suddenly smiled, and this joy was also conveyed to Nine Tails' feelings. Although life is still boring, that little brother always works hard to bring me joy. Kushina turned her head and looked at Nine Tails. Kurama, Wakahuakuen reminded me that humans and tailed beasts are not enemies, they can also be partners. I also want you to be happy. If a human wants to hurt you, I am willing to stand in front of you. So, will you be my little brother? Nine Tails was silent for 2 seconds. Roar. Swish. Kushina was kicked out of the sealed space, and even Chakra was taken back by Nine Tails. Nine Tails also blocked the gap in the sealed space and forcibly disconnected from Kushina. What? If you don't want to, just don't want to. Why are you angry? Kushina pouted, not very cheerful. But suddenly this time. Wukong dash. Take it as your teacher. Ode. Ruohuo rode the fire dragon and launched a dive and jumped out in midair. The fire dragon slammed into a kind of rock hidden, while Ruohuo formed a seal in the air. Fire style, the art of peeling off the original world. Buzz. The laser was ejected from the sky by Wakakura, directly cutting a large hole in Awagakure's earth-style surrounding Four Tails and Five Tails. Roar. Four Tails roared loudly towards the sky. Kokuo and Kurama did not lie to it, it was indeed Indra's chakra. Boom. Four Tails soared into the sky, taking Kushina and Orochimaru with them, and caught Wakawi firmly in the air. Mu Wang. Ruohuo roared again. Kokuo rolled his eyes when he heard the sound, but he still rushed towards the landing point of Four Tails very cooperatively. The next second. Boom. Kokuo sprayed steam from his nostrils, but he still withstood the weight of Four Tails. Snapped. Ruohuo puts his hands together, the powerful tailed beast knight, 1/2, transformed. Episode 96. You just can't see the tailed beast regaining its freedom, right? Do tailed beast knights really have any special advantages? Not really. But in terms of mobility, Five Tails carrying Four Tails has become a bit slower. And the size has become larger, making it easier to be attacked by ninjutsu. If you insist on speaking, the combination of Four Tails and Five Tails can launch tailed beast Jade at the same time. But even if it doesn't fit, it doesn't actually matter. But I can't stand how handsome this thing is. Boom, boom, boom. Every step Five Tails Kokuo takes will cause the ground to tremble. Four Tails Goku condensed chakra in his mouth, the tailed beast Jade was ready, and blasted the earth-style wall cut by Wakahu. Previously, due to the encirclement of the Awagakure ninjas, layers of thick and hard earth-style kept compressing the two-tailed beast's movement space, causing the tailed beast Jade to only open a limited gap every time it was fired. Then it was quickly repaired by the Awagakure ninjas who came one after another. But with Ruohuo's laser opening the way and the impact of the tailed beast Jade, Four Tails' tailed beast Jade shot opened a big hole. The sealing team on the outermost edge of the earth wall was affected, many people were thrown away, and they were also exposed. They're going to break out. Quick! Make up the gap. Sealing class prepares. Can't delay any longer. Master Lus. The sealing team is not sure whether they can seal two-tailed beasts at the same time. Then make preparations to seal Four Tails first. Huang Tu waved his hand, he must join the battlefield. Every ninja village has its own way of dealing with tailed beast riots. Awagakure's method is to use thick earth style to suppress the tailed beasts, and use sophisticated tactics to compress the tailed beast's movement space, but in the final analysis, they still rely on force to suppress them. I saw Lus and a group of rocks jumping on the earth wall. The Awagakure ninjas are repairing the earth-style wall one by one, trying hard to prevent the tailed beast knight from breaking through. The distance between Lus and the tailed beast knight is getting closer and closer, but the first person to discover him is Orochimaru. Wakahuokuen, they seem to have someone special here, so be careful. Orochimaru reminded. Ruohuo then noticed that there was an Orochimaru tied to Four Tails' forehead, and blinked, "Teacher, are you still here?" Didn't he imply that Kushina threw Orochimaru in front of the Awagakure ninjas in the canyon? Why were you tied up all the way? What to do with those prisoners? In order to maintain the stability of the Third Ninja War, he gave up Inoki, Awagakure's high-value target. He originally wanted to capture more prisoners to stop losses. Nice to see you again, Ruohuo-kun. Although he was tied up and looked a little embarrassed, it did not prevent Orochimaru from maintaining his elegance. But I'm not very happy. Ruohuo muttered, glanced over, and saw Huang Tu's figure. Can a person really not change his appearance for 20 years? There really is. Anyway, Ruohuo was among the group of hidden rocks and recognized the burly Lus at a glance. It's such a big dog. If it's in its 20s, it looks like it's in its 40s. Ruohuo seal, he can remember this person. With his earth style, he first suppressed Ghetto statue, and then even 10 tails. Fire style, the art of peeling off the original world. Buzz. Sharingan took aim and predicted the movement of the Lus. The moment the Lus was about to hit the ground, a high-temperature laser shot straight towards the Lus in the distance. Swish. Huang Tu's head was directly pierced, but his body immediately turned khaki, the Earth clone. Front. Kushina suddenly shouted. In this situation where there are Wavakure ninjas from all directions, and the number is very likely to be close to 10,000, no matter how good the perception ninja is, it is impossible to accurately lock on the enemy. Chakra is too disruptive. But Lus, who suddenly appeared directly opposite the tailed beast knight, was not in this category. Because this burly ninja is bursting with unparalleled chakra. Earth-style Shantu Jutsu. Boom. The earth walls on both sides suddenly changed their shape, and two huge semicircular rocks suddenly merged towards the tailed beast knight. The scale was even larger than the two tailed beasts put together. This is the super powerful earth style that can suppress even 10 tails. Ninjutsu type, B-level earth style sand and earth jutsu. Trigger little fire gods passive, you can learn all escape techniques, but they will all be replaced by flames. Successfully learned ninjutsu, fire style, the art of mountain fire. Thankfully, I only learned it now. Ruohuo muttered and said, if this B-level earth style was obtained on the way to blow up the Shenwabi bridge, then it might not be a escaping shadow clone, so he might have ignored it. This is a remote enhanced plus version of fire prison technique. With a clap of hands, whoever is burned will be cremated on the spot, and there will be a one-stop funeral. Roar. Ruohuo, who wanted to learn this technique, did not stop him, and Huang Tu's timing to activate this technique was just right. However, at the moment Shantu activated it, 4 tails and 5 tails, who were connected with Indra's chakra, also immediately just reacted. I saw 5 tails suddenly stopped, neither breaking out nor retreating, just stopped within the range of the mountain and earth technique. 4 tails suddenly opened its arms and temporarily withstood the combined attack of ninjutsu. I can't hold on for long, Indra. The voice of 4 tails sounded in Ruohuo's mind. Although he had been prepared for it, this was not the first time he had faced this technique. Generally speaking, he didn't like it very much. Leave it to my master. Ruohuo's indifferent eyes were fixed on the Lus in front of him. You just don't want to see the tailed beasts regain their freedom, do you? Ruohuo's voice was not loud, it could even be said that he was mumbling to himself. Of course, Huang Tu couldn't hear it. Maybe he could barely tell from the shape of his mouth, but Ruohuo didn't say it to Huang Tu. Kushina next to her pursed her lips and said nothing, but her eyes changed slightly. Fire style. Ruohuo suddenly clasped his hands together. Huang Tu, who was trying hard to suppress 4 tails, suddenly felt a burst of heat, and then, chant. The 2 sides of the Lus suddenly ignited with raging fire, quickly converging into a semicircle shape. This is just like the fire style version of the mountain and earth technique.